So how many times have I sat here in this chair and made wrestling analogies? I've made them until some of you have got tired of hearing them. I have people reach out to me who can't stand wrestling. They're like, Brando, I don't get the wrestling analogies. I don't know why you're always comparing Trump to the WWE. I hate the WWE. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. And I'm like, yeah, it is ridiculous, and it is stupid. It always has been. It's a ridiculous form of entertainment, but it is definitely exactly what Donald Trump borrowed from. So I've been sitting here making these analogies this whole time, and then it just came to life at the Republican National Convention, or should I say the MAGA meet and greet, because they had Hulk Hogan there. And I got a funny story for you. When I heard the news that Hulk Hogan was going to be speaking at the MAGA meet and greet, I said, he's going to go out there and cut a promo. He's going to cut a wrestling style promo because that's all the guy could do. This is not this fountain of wisdom, okay? This is not a guy who understands policy and understands how to get things done. He understands how to get a crowd worked into a frenzy. Love him or hate him, Hulk Hogan can get a crowd riled up. He's always been able to do that. And I was joking with my good friend Superman Todd when we were sending messages back and forth, and I was like, I wonder if he's going to do the wind up to his ear. I wonder if he's going to flex. I wonder if he's going to rip off his shirt. I wonder if they're going to play the real American and give him the Titantron. They did all of those things, folks. Take a look.
Happened last week when they took a shot at my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
So I got a funny story for you guys. When that happened and everyone saw it, I had two friends who have never met, live in two different states, message me at almost the same exact time to say, is this real life? Did that really just happen? Did we really just see something like that happen at what was supposed to be the Republican National Convention? It was one thing when we saw Lee Greenwood, but this is something completely different. We just saw Hulk Hogan get up there. We saw him walk out to the Real American theme song with the Titantron behind him. We saw him wind up the ear, and he ripped off the shirt. Yes, folks, it really happened. And yes, someone thought that it was a good idea to book that shit. Someone booked that. Someone decided that was a good idea. And do you want to know why they thought it was a good idea? Because that type of rhetoric is exactly what resonates with MAGA. You can think whatever you want to think about professional wrestling, but the professional wrestling model is exactly what resonates with MAGA. I've watched wrestling my entire life. I don't ever recall not watching wrestling. It was just always on in my house. My mom and my grandfather watched it, and so we tuned in every Saturday back before it started coming on Monday nights, and you had Friday Night SmackDown. Back in the day, it came on Saturday, 6:05 on TBS, and we was tuned in every week to watch it. And we was tuned in because it was entertaining. We found it to be entertaining. And to those out there who hates wrestling, I will quote the wrestler Jeff Jarrett. He said it best. For those that love it, there's no explanation necessary. And for those that don't, there's no explanation that will do. I totally get that. But I watched it as a kid because it struck emotions in me. It got me riled up. It got me excited. And I enjoyed those promos better than I did the matches. I enjoyed watching Ric Flair come out and cut a promo on Dusty Rhodes. I enjoyed watching Jim Cornette come out and cut a promo on the Rock and Roll Express. That was my type of thing. And those guys were great entertainers that could work a crowd and bring a crowd into a room. And to everyone out there that's shouting at the screen, but it's fake, it's fake. Listen, the numbers aren't fake. The attendance isn't fake. To this day, they still draw huge crowds everywhere. They still, once a year at WrestleMania, will pull in close to 100,000 people every year. It's a global event that happens because people gets into that because it strikes emotion in them. It doesn't matter if the fight's real. It doesn't matter if the fight's real because they believe that the fight is about them. And I probably can't play this video because I'm sure it's probably copywritten. So I'm just going to paraphrase from Jim Cornette, who was one of my favorites and still is. I listen to the Drive Through and Experience podcast every day. I'm a huge Cornette fan. I'm in the cult of Cornette if I'm in any cult at all. That's a wrestling joke. But Cornette in a video I saw summed up pro wrestling so good. He said, just imagine, and I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not saying it exactly right, but He said, just imagine you're driving along and you look over on the side of the road and you see two guys and they're in a hell of a fight. They're going at it. One guy is this really big, muscular guy, and the other guy's this little scrawny guy. And all of a sudden, you know, the big guy, he's just pounding and clubbing the crap out of the little guy. But suddenly, the little guy starts making a comeback, and he starts coming back from underneath, and he starts winning. And you're like, whoa, and now you're invested in this fight because you want to see that little guy whip the big guy. Now, just imagine, then he sums it up by saying, just imagine if you knew who that little guy was. Imagine if he had a character. Imagine if he had a name. Imagine if you felt like he was fighting for you. Then you're going to pay money to see that, regardless of whether the fight is real or not, because you feel like they're fighting for you. And folks, whether we like it or not, MAGA feels like that Donald Trump is fighting for them, even though he's working hard against their best interest, even though he's going to take away everything that ever helped them. Every lifeline they ever had will be ripped away. They don't care because they're caught up in this idea that he's fighting for them. They bought into that pro wrestling style of entertainment. There's no substance to Trump. There's no real ideas and solutions to Trump. There's not unity, no matter how many times they're trying to say now that there is. There's none of those things. It's a very cruel and hateful environment in MAGA, but it doesn't matter because MAGA feels like that they're fighting for them. Hulk Hogan, when I was a kid, as a small kid, I remember him, he was the real American hero. He did the whole thing about say your prayers, eat your vitamins. That was his shtick. And then in the mid-90s, when that stuff ran its course and people got tired of seeing it, he started up the NWO and he turned heel. And he still was able to bring people in. And suddenly, in the 90s, the NWO was breaking every rule in the book. Hogan was breaking every rule in the book. But people loved to see him beat up innocent people. They loved to see him attack and beat up innocent people and spray paint NWO on their back and make fun of them and mock them. The NWO came out every week and they mocked and they ridiculed their opponents. It was a little bit different than it was in the 80s. It had a different edge, but people went right along with it. And over on the other channel, on the WWF, now it's the E, they had Stone Cold and they had The Rock and they had Degeneration X, and people was flipping, you know, Stone Cold was flipping people off, pouring beer down his neck. DX was pointing at their crotch. The Rock was saying all these outlandish things. None of these people were good guys. None of these guys were heroes, really. They were breaking every rule in the book, but people loved to see someone just be cruel to the boss. Someone loved to see the good guy just get his ass whipped. And that's what they love now. When you hear this phrase, owning the libs, I hear it as a wrestling cliche. I hear it as a wrestling catchphrase. That's I hear it as, you know, The Rock's going to lay the smackdown on you. That's how I hear it when I hear own the libs, because that's what MAGA has bought into. And it doesn't matter if any of it is real or not. Their emotions are real and they're behind it. And they're voting, folks. The people that sat there and cheered on Hulk Hogan ripping off his shirt are voting, and their vote counts, okay? So you can say it's stupid all day. You can say it's fake all day. You can say it's not real all day. The vote's going to be real. When they cast their vote, it's going to count the same way ours is going to count. So if we don't pull our heads out of our asses and get behind Joe Biden and get behind democracy and go to the poll and get excited to vote, if anything should fire you up and make you want to vote, it should be that. Because that should make you realize, you know what? They don't care about us. They don't give a damn. They'll book a pro wrestler to cut a promo just to get their point across. So my wrestling analogies have proven true, and I'm sorry for that. And my grandfather would be sorry for that. My grandfather is one of the ones that got me into watching wrestling. We watched Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat back in '89. We watched all three of those matches. They're still my favorite three matches of all time. I never will forget those memories of sitting on the couch by my grandpa watching those matches, him pulling for Steamboat and me pulling for Flair. But I promise you, if Hulk Hogan had got up at the National Convention back in '88 and he had have done that crap, my grandfather would have said that, hey, look, I know we watch that every Saturday, but that has no place in politics. That's not what we are. I guarantee you he would have shouted that down and thought it was ridiculous. And Pap, if you're looking down, yeah, I'm sorry you had to witness that bullshit. But it's real to them, folks. And there's a clip. You guys go Google it and just watch it and have fun. It's called It's Still Real to Me, Damn It. Well, MAGA is still real to these people, folks. They really believe in it. They're fired up to vote, and their vote is going to count whether we think it's real or not.